There it is. Well, let's get into some football talk. But first, man, we got to hear from FanDuel. This episode of the Ultimate 216 Show is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what making live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're watching and reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with live player props updates as guys heat up. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, all you got to do is visit fanduel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so can you. So where I wanted to get started with you today, Lance, was breaking down Shedeur Sanders, 4 NFL stars, and just kind of getting your assessment from a football coach or offensive mind of the pros, the cons, and just what you see in totality as we move forward to close out this season. And he earns his keep for 2026. Let's start with the pros. 4 stars. I've seen everything that you've written and everything that you've broken down. What's your overall like? Give me a list of pros that you've seen from Shedeur over 4 games so far.
Well, I'd say number one, outside of the throws and things he get, is his impact on others. If you look at what he's done for like Samson, for example, he's creates an energy and he creates a vibe, and that's kind of that it factor with all quarterbacks. That's really hard to measure. That's why all of us who kind of do this for a living, it's really hard to measure a quarterback's value. That's why people mess up in terms of their success. So his impact has been outstanding. The next thing that I really like is obviously his ability to throw the ball deep, stretch the field. That's been really, really important because they have not been able to do that in a number of years. Now, the thing that he's really bringing that people don't understand. So when he played at Colorado, he played under Pat Shurmur, and they really struggled in pass protection. So they did a really nice job of making sure that they got rid of the ball quickly. That, for some reason, turned into he can't process information. The thing that you're seeing is his ability to process information, get the ball out, and be very calm in situations that are not very calm. So I've been very impressed with that. And then overall, Earl, some of the things that he really struggled with, he's really improved. Now, he's got a long way to go. And I told everybody, the thing that I liked most is that as excited as everybody was against the Titans, I was still not overly excited. As some of the struggles he had last week, it really didn't bother me either, because as a starting quarterback, you're going to go through those things. You're going to go through the ups and downs. You're going to go through the, different coverages and what people can do. And like the interception, never at Colorado did Gardner Johnson drop from the line of scrimmage and pick the ball off 17 yards downfield. That doesn't happen in college. So you get those eye-opening moments, but he handles the pressure very, very well. The thing that I think from my experience, seeing him every day at practice, he's a really good teammate. So the noise that sometimes people have, the positive and negative, he's kind of what you want. He's a guy who just kind of goes to work every day, and that's he's energetic. He has fun. So I've been really impressed. And as you know, we talked during camp, I'm also a Dylan fan. I think Dylan had a lot of ups, and I understand why they drafted him. Sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay too. It doesn't change your evaluation of these guys. It's just the right timing, the right place. And the people that say he didn't get a shot, well, as my dad used to say, life's not fair. But when you get your shot, you better take it. And I think he's doing a pretty good job of taking that opportunity and continuing to get better each week.
Okay. So some of the things you said about, let's go back to the processing of the information part, because like you said, out of nowhere, it was just the story that he couldn't process information. And I kind of always looked at that as a head scratcher, because your offensive coordinator in Colorado is a former NFL head coach and a former NFL offensive coordinator. So it's like, to me, this notion that there was this lack of being prepared when the structure there had NFL minds in it. People had been in the NFL and knew the business of the NFL. And ultimately, when you structure out a staff like that with the goal of getting kids to come to your program because you can get them to that next level, which is the NFL, I just always found that hard to believe. And I know Shedeur had talked a couple weeks ago about his learning style, and everybody doesn't have the same learning style. Some people are non-traditional with it. I know for me, I'm a hands-on learner. Like, you can sit up there in front of a chalkboard or a whiteboard and tell me things all day long, and I can take notes all day long. But until I get out there and actually do it, it's gonna be murky waters there. So to hear you talk about that, and then just to being a good teammate part. A lot of my content, I'm an emotional dude, and I always talk about those unwritten intangibles or the things that don't show up in a scouting report or in a box score. And when you talk about just like infectious energy, because we know energy transfers and like that level of confidence and just having that natural born leadership quality to you from just like your perspective as a coach, those are things that don't show up in completion percentage and your footwork and are you drifting in the pocket. Exactly how important is it for your quarterback of all positions to have those type of intangibles about himself?
Well, I'll give you an example. So when he threw a couple of the interceptions, if you look at Shedeur, he stood there and didn't run after the ball after he threw the interception. Now that's not bad for. It's not really bad for a lot of people, but a person like Shedeur, that sticks out to me. Why? Because part of what he does so well is that he attacks and he has fun. So when he throws that interception, go make a tackle. Mistakes happen. You have drops. You have these things. So I thought that was a great learning moment for him because now he can look on the film and go, hey, that's my bad. I can't do that. Because as a quarterback in the NFL, you can't have bad days. Now, you can have bad days throwing the ball, but you can't have that bad days leadership-wise. You can't have bad days emotionally because all your teammates, like an offensive lineman, they're hitting each other all day. You have to be consistent in what you do. And that's kind of what he does very well. I go back to camp, and you were standing there with me. Everybody talked about the quarterback competition, and whether you liked it or not, I really appreciated those four quarterbacks helping each other. I really appreciated, we saw that every day, just standing there. And the idea that he wasn't getting reps, but still getting mental reps and doing things, he never, he didn't play the victim, which I think is important. That people understand some of his success because he never thought of it. It's kind of you can either play the victim or when you get your shot, whether it's fair or not, and you take it. And I thought that was really important that he does that, that he did that. And once again, not running after the ball, that's a learning moment for him because that's what you expect from him. Now, a lot of quarterbacks don't chase the ball, but they don't maybe have the leadership skills or his style of leadership skills. So that's a great learning moment. And when you're, as or when you get we get late in the season, legs are tired. Practice is tough. You got to have a guy who's the juice guy. You got to have a guy who brings the juice no matter what. And Shedeur, as a quarterback, that's part of his strength. That's part of his superpower. So, he'll learn that. He'll continue to do that. And nothing's too big for him. That, some of the things that make it hard to be Deion's son, some of the things really help. The stage is not too big. He understands. He's been around these type of things, so he's only going to get better, and I really believe that. But I believe that about a lot of guys. And the other option is to say things aren't going to go well, and I don't believe that. I think he's doing the right thing, and I think he's going to get better and better.
Talk about some of the things that you have kind of looked at as you've went over the film, went over the tape from game to game that points out to you as weaknesses, as things that Shedeur still need to work on more often than not.
Well, one of the things he's not doing a great job of right now is, I think he's really improving his footwork, but he has that drifting where he's not only drifting backwards, but he gets his weight back. So if you think about a baseball pitcher, he's not really getting his weight from his backside to his front side. But I'd say the thing that's really hurting him right now is that he's not seeing his pre-snap read, and he's sticking to that pre-snap read. In the NFL, they change the picture all the time. And so I think what's happening is like the Gardner Johnson. The interception, I tell everybody, that was my Travis Hunter interception. And what I mean by that was pre-snap, Fannin was the guy. Guys on the line of scrimmage, he's the flat defender. So that was all pre-snap to me. So when he threw it to Fannin, Gardner Johnson retreated and made the play. But in college, that guy's not retreating and making the play. So he kind of didn't retake the picture, which is what you have to do. You have to go, we always talk about pre-snap read, post-snap confirmation. Right? Pre-snap, you get what you think there, but people change the picture. And that's what's happening, especially if you saw last week with Dennis Allen, right? They put 8 guys on line of scrimmage. That's all to try to mess that quarterback, mess that offensive line up. The more you do it, the more you see, well, if the safety's not stacking, that guy's dropping. If that linebacker's not head up on the back, then he's got man coverage. All those little things, that just takes game reps. And you said it earlier, you can do everything, and it's important that you practice well. But it doesn't matter until you do your livelihood as a man. It could be taken away by guys like Myles Garrett, and they're hitting you for real. So it just takes live reps. But he's got to continue to get better from pre-snap to post-snap. And then, again, the footwork, transferring his weight from back to forward, making sure he doesn't drift. One of the things, when you get pressure, A and B gap pressure in college, you drift, not because it's a bad, you drift to buy time, right? Half a second. You drift to buy time so you can get rid of the ball. Those are all, he's got to have trust in his offensive line. And as much as everybody said, I think as much as everybody said he won in spite of Kevin Stefanski and in spite of his teammates, and he had such a great game against the Titans. I disagree with that. I think you have to win as a team. just like some of the struggles he had this week, those weren't all his either, right? There's a drop by Judy. There's some pass protection issues. So I think what he's really learning is that, and he's doing a good job of, this is a team game. He's the biggest piece of the pie, but he's just a piece of it. And the great quarterbacks know that. And mentally, he's pretty solid already. So like I said, I think these 3 weeks are really, really big for him, just to see where he's at. And does he continue to progress with the pre and post snap, the footwork, the anticipation, the accuracy, all those kind of things.
I always go back to something I heard Jim Brown say when I was probably about 20, 21 years old, that in football, you need all 11 parts moving in the same direction at the same time to have success. It's just that so simple when you talk about football being the ultimate team sport. Before we move on to the second topic of the day, just weighing the pros, weighing the cons. You've heard the talk. I've heard the talk. Whether Shedeur Sanders should be the option to be the Cleveland Browns quarterback for 2026. You got some people who feel like the Browns should draft a quarterback high in this draft, like a Fernando Mendoza. Some people are still on the fence with it. I'm one of those people to where I want to see Shedeur in 2026. I want to see the Cleveland Browns take those draft picks and build actually a quality roster out around them. I want to see you draft some offensive linemen and sign one or two. I want to see you draft a couple wide receivers. I want a wide receiver in round 1, possibly round 2. If I can't get one in round 2, give me another one in round 3. I want to see them add to the talent that's already here and give him a full 17 games to go with this 7 to make a true assessment. I am right there in the camp with everybody else when they say, okay, 7 games is not enough to deem him your franchise quarterback. I agree with that. But if you take Shedeur Sanders' name off of it, I don't think 7 games is enough to deem anybody your franchise quarterback. But 24 games is a fair enough sample size, in my opinion, to tell if this guy is the right guy to lead your organization moving forward. But just based off what you've seen, based on your gut feeling or however you look at it, how do you see it playing out? Do you think the Browns should kind of go find another quarterback, or should Shedeur be their man for next season?
Well, they can't reach. They can't reach for a quarterback because they feel like they're quarterback hungry, right? If you don't like, and I'm actually writing something on Mendoza right now. There's a lot of like about him, but there are some questions. And if there's not a slam dunk, or who you think is a slam dunk, then you have to make sure that you don't just reach because you're feeling like you have to reach. The one thing that I think everybody's learning right now is that I don't know if the evaluation after 7 or after 24, whatever it is, you're learning that football is won inside out, and that's why the Browns defense has had such success, because that defensive line. It's the same thing that goes with the offensive line. Your offensive line has to be good. They have to marry the run with the pass. They have to pass protect better. They have to, receivers wise, they have to get, they don't have a get out of jail free card. They don't have a Travis Hunter or Jamar Chase, where sometimes on that call sheet, I know on my call sheet, it basically said touches, and you throw it up to a guy once in a while because he can make a play. They don't have a guy like that. So in terms of, for me, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is if you don't address the offensive line first. The offensive line, without an offensive line, the quarterback who's ever back there, it's going to be tough to get any type of evaluation. Now, in terms of what Shedeur needs to do the next 3 weeks, in my opinion, is kind of do what he's doing. He's going to have some ups and downs because of his surrounding people. Is he still being a leader? Does he make the throws? Is he now, Earl, not if he always makes a great throw, is he going to the right spot? Did he make the right read? Is his footwork getting better and better? If all those things happen, then yeah, you have so many holes right now on that offense. You got to put some pieces around whoever that quarterback is. And if you believe that he's the guy, you better get him some weapons around him, because if not, whoever you get, if you feel great about whoever, they're going to struggle without pieces.